the Senate done anything wrong against Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan?
Well, to start with, I think that they have not just wronged Uduaghan, they've wronged Nigeria. The reason is simple. We all know that a few days ago, maybe 2 days ago or so, the court order was served on the Senate of Nigeria. The committee in charge of ethics and so on and so forth. And that there was proof of service. I mean, this was flying on the social media, and everyone saw it. They got a substituted order to serve by on the Senate through the office of the clerk. This was done. And then, in spite of this, you didn't sit down, you didn't rush a committee report, and then the person who is accused and who was likely to suffer from a suspension order was not even present. And so, in one breath, there was no fair hearing. You never heard the other side, in line with the provisions of the Constitution, Section 36. In the other breath, you disobeyed flagrantly a court order. And then you turn around to say, oh, the judiciary is not strong enough, the judiciary should improve, when we are the very ones, by this behavior, undermining judicial institutions in this country. Honestly, if I were the judge and the appropriate applications are made before me, I will go very far to make that point strong. Now let's come back to the rules. They made so much noise about the rules. We wrote these rules.
Rule 60, Rule 40, we reviewed, Rule 20. There are a few sections of...
We reviewed the rules in 1999. I was the first to lay down the reviewed rules. It was what I laid that I sent to the Senate for them to use. It's not changed. They've just changed, increased committees, a few here and there. Now, the Senate President allocates the seat. The dispute arose from the allocation of seat. Now, once it is the Senate President that allocates a seat and a senator complains about a right to a seat, it's a privilege, because the right to be in the Senate is by election and a certificate of return. Do not forget, you and I cannot go there. So once she raises that point, it is a duty under Order 10, the famous Order 10 she was shouting about, of the presiding officer to have suspended all other matters. I consider that a very serious issue, and taking her complaint and make a formal ruling. But if you watch the proceedings on that day, as the distinguished senator was shouting Order 10, Order 10, I already heard the presiding officer talking about prepare her for suspension. Review the tape. We've seen it. You were already preparing her for suspension even before you...
So was it fait accompli?
Oh yeah, it was completely...
They decided our fate even long before the ethics committee was even...
It was predetermined. And then beyond that, the question was, at the time they went to court, the issue was that there was a thinking, a suspicion that she might be suspended. That was why she went to court. If you don't stop them, they will do it. And then they did it in spite of receiving the order. Now, I said to them, they were wrong. Section 4, subsection 8 of the Constitution is clear. In the conduct of his legislative powers and duties, their conduct shall be subject to the judiciary.
So you can actually, another arm of government can stop the activities of another arm of government.
Look, can I just take it briefly?
So the judiciary, the court can stop the activities that goes on in the chamber. I imagine that the activities within the chamber, there is some level of immunity to the procedure and the activities of lawmakers within the chamber.
As long as the activities do not obstruct the due process of law. I mean, once the Senate is in session, it is carrying out legislative business. Whether it is about a seat, whether it's about a breach of privilege, whether it is about passing a law, whether it's about passing a motion, it's all brought down on legislative privilege. And so when the Constitution of Nigeria says that the National Assembly's duties shall be subject to the jurisdiction of the courts, it means it. And that's why they run to court each time they are suspended. Jinda was there. Ndume was there.
And I was going to reference the case of Omar Ayege. It was a rested case in the court.
Yes.
The case of Ali Ndume. They all went to court.
Dino Melaye.
Dino Melaye.
Yes.
These are cases that have been decided by our court. In that case, There is an underlying factor that the courts
have talked about.
For
example, most courts are of the view that you can suspend a sitting senator or lawmaker of any legislative body for more than 14 days, interpreting the Legislative Powers and Privileges Act.
But so there is an establishment that the Senate or the National Assembly, when there is a quorum and there is a sitting, can suspend one of their own.
Oh, yeah,
established, by their own rules.
Definite.
But the court, as at the famous case of Senator Omar Agege, that you cannot suspend for more than 14 days.
Correct. And not only that, you can also not suspend without hearing the other party.